Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinubandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Galpatro Vyasya Kripa Sandubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once more. Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Hare
Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, very warm welcome to all of you. So I'll just build the context. Yeah. So we have started the second chapter, and we have seen that in the first chapter, Arjuna was giving all the reasons not to fight. But like although Krishna is with him, Krishna is giving him physical association, but still Arjuna is full of negative emotions after seeing his relatives in the battlefield. And Arjuna, so this verse, Tam tatha kripaya vishtam ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. So he is full of tears and he is full of negative emotions, and he said out of frustration that he doesn't want to fight. So the approach which Arjuna takes in how he is interacting with Krishna is very, very instructive. That he is feeling negative emotions, he is fully frustrated by the situation, and he is not uh, able to perceive any positive outcome of the war. And in spite of that, he totally expresses his negative emotions with a very, very open heart to Krishna. And most importantly, besides opening of his heart in the form of feelings to Krishna, he surrenders to Krishna. In the seventh verse, he says, Sishya Seham Sadi Mam Tvam Prapannam. So he's totally surrendering. So it means that he has full trust in Krishna, that Krishna can throw more light on the problematic thoughts which Arjuna is facing. So it is very, very instructive for us also. Like whenever we face challenges in life, then we understand those challenges, when then we process those emotions and then express it to the higher authorities in a palatable manner, in a very, very honest and very, very transparent manner, having full trust that authorities will speak something which will be helpful for us, which will elevate our consciousness, and which will solve our problems, our so-called problems. Actually, every problem in this material world is small. If we see how much basically Mughals raided the temples, Sri Vaishnava temples, they all sacrificed their own lives actually. So Sri Vaishnava devotees like Venkat Bhatta, they were lying down. They were imitating that they were dead. So if we see the problems of those Sri Vaishnava saints whose temples were raided by Mughal emperors like Muhammad Ghori, and they had to fake death. So those problems are very, 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 very hard, and they were truly like faced with death and a lot of trauma. But if we see in our lives, our problems are quite small. Like there might be some strains in family relationships, there might be some expectations at the workplace, some chaos at the workplace. But indeed, the problems are quite small, because so only solution to this to these problems is to elevate our consciousness, right? So we'll take the questions maybe after, once we build the context, and then start the verses here. So as we have been discussing that the only solution to these problems is to elevate our consciousness, just like an Empire State Building, right? So if you go to the top of the Empire State Building, then the all the cities, all the vehicles, all the people will look very, very small, like ants. So if we elevate our consciousness,
Prabhuji, not able to hear you.
okay, is there any problem with anybody else?
Yeah, no, I'm able to hear him all right.
Okay, yeah, you can try, Ravi,
Hare
to.
Krishna, not able to hear anybody.
You can try and rejoin, Prabhu.
Yeah, we are able to hear him very loud and clear, Ravi. So I agree with him.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a loud. We can hear him loudly.
Yeah, maybe I'll just continue. Yeah, so as I was saying that this world is full of problems. Deva Bhutatma Hetava. So there are three types of kleshas which we face all the time. Adi Devika klesha, Adi Bhautika, and Adhyatmika. So Adi Devika means the problems which we face from the higher authorities, like demigods are not happy, like coronavirus, some epidemic happens, earthquake happens, volcano happens, or some meteor falls on the earth. So these are all Adi Devika klesha. And Adhyatmika klesha is the problems which we face from our mind, which actually Arjuna is also facing on the battlefield. Because whatever negative emotions he is facing, that is because of his attachments uh, to his relatives and other spiritual personalities. And the third one is Adi Adi Bhautika Klesha. So the problems which we face from other living entity. For example, if mosquito bites and we get malaria or typhoid, or if our manager is very compassionate, I'm being sarcastic. Basically, manager is very strict and he is not being very compassionate in our difficult situations in life, then that is adi bhautika klesha, the kleshas which are caused by the presence of the other family members. For example, if you want to practice bhakti and your family members are not so favorable of this idea, so they will pose different problems. So that is adi bhautika klesha. And sometimes in your teams also, right, in Google, sometimes you make progress and there is not clarity of quota. The project which you are working on, that might be overlapping with some other person's project, and he's envious, so he will not let you progress. He would not like to see you proceed and to be promoted. So these are all adi bhautika klesha. And so basically, if we can elevate our consciousness and come to a spiritual platform where we can understand that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, then we can, okay, you go. Then we can transcend these three types of kleshas. So, for example, in the spiritual world, win for there is a win-win situation for everybody, because everybody wants to serve Krishna and everybody wants desire. He wishes welfare and well-being for everybody else. So that is the first austerity of the mind. Mana prasada saumyatvam, manamatma vinigraha, bhava samshuddhiriti etat, tapo manasam uchyate. So desiring well for the other person, that is a very important austerity of the mind. Because by default, a person is envious. Enviousness is what splits us apart from the spiritual world. But when we, so by default, we'll be envious. We will not like when the other person will proceed. But actually, we should be conscious of this fact and we should not act on that envy. We should have faith. So, faith is the antidote of envy. So, faith means that Krishna has arranged this situation. So, I should be appreciative about it, because whatever is going on around us, it is arranged by Krishna. Krishna is the controller, Krishna is the maintainer, and Krishna is the protector. Krishna is the best friend. So if we understand these three things, that Krishna is the controller of each and every situation which we encounter in our life, and Krishna is the maintainer. Krishna is the person who has given us this job, who has given us this service to our family members, and Krishna is our best friend. So Krishna is best friend. That's why he's bringing certain situations to facilitate our purification and make us understand that what is the true purpose of life. What is, if you ask anybody that what is the goal of life, I don't think like anybody would be able to answer that unless you have some understanding of Krishna consciousness or some understanding of scriptures. So that's how basically you see Krishna, and like when you understand that Krishna is the controller, then you are acting on the faith that this situation is being arranged by Krishna for my own purification. And the same situation is happening with Arjuna on the battlefield. Although Krishna is with him, Krishna is on the same chariot as Arjuna, but still Arjuna is not happy uh, with his mental situation, with his subtle feelings. And this is very, very strange, right? Like, because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is sitting in all of our hearts. He knows everybody, what he is undergoing, what situations are being he being put into, and he creates everything. He maintains everybody, and he can pacify anybody. As we heard the like Akshay Patra story, he pacified all the 10,000 disciples of Durvasa Muni just by eating one piece of vegetable. So he can for sure pacify Arjuna, but still, like Arjuna is feeling those negative emotions, in spite of the presence of Krishna. So how did Arjuna solve this? So Arjuna solved this by expressing what he felt in a very transparent manner, and finally he surrendered to Krishna. So now the relationship has transformed from being a friend to a guru shishya relationship. So that is what we need to do basically. To In order to be helped by a higher authority, we have to be submissive. We have to cultivate humility and trust. And when we surrender to a higher authority, to a senior devotee, then that devotee will help you by elevating your consciousness. It's not necessary that he will like remove the problem, but he will elevate your consciousness by making you understand Krishna. So he will make you tell that, see how wonderful Krishna is, and how wonderful is your relationship with Krishna is, how this wonderful these scriptures are, how wonderful these hearing of Bhagavad Gita is, how wonderful the devotees are, how wonderful. Basically, I will tell you a story. So there was a brahmana in South India, and like our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like uh, who is the most senior acharya of this movement, he was traveling in South India, and he encountered this brahmana, and this brahmana was illiterate. So actually, brahmana was illiterate, and everybody knew around him that this brahmana was illiterate. But still, brahmana was trying to read Bhagavad Gita in spite of not knowing English or Hindi, and he was in tears actually. And people were thinking that he is faking tears because he is illiterate, so he cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. How can he be so emotional and so devotional about Bhagavad Gita? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked this brahmana that, how, like, why are you crying, and how are you feeling so ecstatic about Bhagavad Gita, because you cannot read it actually. So then this brahmana told that the Supreme Lord, who is basically the maintainer of everything, who is present in each and every atom, who is facilitating the lives of so many people, and who is bringing purification, who is maintaining the 14 planetary systems, that Supreme Lord who can pacify anybody, he has become the servant of his devotee Arjuna. So just this thought was making him cry and ecstasy, and he was ecstatic. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that although you are illiterate, but you have totally understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita, because that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. That Krishna is so merciful that although he is so great, and he is basically he is able to solve everything, because everything moves by his Ichha Shakti. So as we have discussed, there are different energies of Krishna: Ichha Shakti, Kala Shakti, Palan Shakti. So all those energies are there, and just Krishna desires, and things move according to that. So Krishna is so powerful. He is moving lives of so many living entities. There are 8,400,000 species, and then so many living entities are there. So many situations are there, and personally, Krishna is sitting in everybody's heart, and trying to fulfill everybody's desires. He's hearing everybody's prayers, and he is basically also the rasa in the vegetables, and he is the moonshine. He is the sunshine. So everything is Krishna actually. Krishna is facilitating everything, and that same Krishna is becoming a servant of Arjuna. So Arjuna is kicking Krishna because the service of a charioteer is a very, very humble service. Like, Because generally, on the battlefield, Arjuna can't just every time tell something to Krishna and Krishna is able to hear, because there is a lot of chaos going on, a lot of fighting going on. So Arjuna will just kick Krishna on the shoulder, and if he kicks on the right shoulder, then the chariot turns right, and if he kicks on the left shoulder, then chariot turns left. So the same Supreme Lord, he's basically taking kicks from his devotee, who is basically he like everybody wants to obtain that Krishna. Actually, all the yogis, all the sadhus want that, and the same Krishna is taking kicks from Arjuna. So this very thought actually was bringing ecstasy and crying to this Brahmana. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that you have actually understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita, that how merciful our Supreme Lord Krishna is. And when we understand that how merciful he is and how great he is, actually we might know that Krishna is great, God is great, but we might not know that how great God is. Basically his greatness, how he is sitting within all of our hearts, how he is facilitating different situations in our life. So to know that, we have to take association of a devotee, we have to read scriptures, and we have to understand that how merciful Krishna is. And there are different names which are used by Arjuna in different contexts. For example, Madhusudana, Janardana. And initially he's just mocking Krishna, that you are Janardana, you are the husband of, you are the maintainer of living entities, and you are talking about killing all the people. What type of lord you are? And you are Madhusudana, you killed all my kill the demons known as Madhu and Ketap, so you should kill all my doubts also. So like this, Arjuna, in a friendly manner, he is mocking Krishna by taking these names. And when we understand, when we hear scriptures from higher authorities, then our consciousness gets elevated. And gradually you will feel that those problems which are very, very grave, and they were totally dominating on our consciousness, they subside. And your consciousness becomes uplifted, and then you gain a higher trust in Krishna and his devotees, and then you are not so much bothered by those problems. So this is the way that we have to, this is the way of Vedic tradition. When we speak glories of Krishna, when we take association of devotees nicely, serve them, and hear Krishna Katha from them, here take prasadam, then actually all our most of the problem is in our mind. It's not actually the external thing. How mind perceives the external situation, that is the problem, and not the external situation. So if we can elevate our consciousness from that situation, then actually we can solve our problem. And that is why we are doing these sessions. So somehow we have to take lessons from this book. And I know that all of us are facing one or the other situation which is difficult and very hard to comprehend, why Krishna is doing things in a certain way. So yeah, so you have to hear chapter 1 again and again. Here, try to have the lessons, ABCD of devotional service, and then why Arjuna is giving particular reasons, what are his material attachments, and how ultimately you have to learn to understand how mind performs. So basically, what is the functioning of mind, and where our consciousness is lacking. And that's what Krishna is doing here. So Krishna is acting as a coach for Arjuna, and he's picking up the blind spots. He's saying, Kutastva Kashmalamidam. So where have these impotencies come in your heart, Arjuna? You are belonging to Arya dynasty, and your legacy is very, very high. Like all the Vrishnis, all the all the Pandavas, they you belong to a very, very high legacy, and these weakness of heart, they are not at all appropriate for a person like you. So Krishna is trying to motivate Arjuna by chastising left, right, and center. And he is actually trying to bring light in Arjuna's consciousness. And that's what a devotee does for a person who is bothered by so many problems in his life. And Arjuna totally surrendered, basically. So Arjuna had full trust in Krishna, and that's why Arjuna could receive the transcendental knowledge of Krishna. And now this transcendental knowledge of Sankhya Yoga will start, where Krishna will start glorifying the properties of the soul, the characteristics of the soul. He is again and again will tell that whatever you are lamenting for, whatever reasons you are giving, that those actually are not really reasons for not fighting. Those are only on a superficial platform, and the real platform is on the soul platform. So Krishna will start describing about the characteristics of the soul from the 12th verse. Yeah. So last time we read the 11th verse. So let's start the 12th verse. So any questions till now? We have spent 22 minutes.
That was very nice summary, Rajat. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, somehow I was getting this inspiration yesterday night that if you read scriptures nicely, if you take devotee association nicely, whatever problems Krishna will give you, he will also give you the spiritual strength to face those problems, because those problems are good for your purification, because that is the goal of life, purification. So a sadhu, a devotee, he endeavors for purification. And when that purification is done, then he progresses towards Krishna. He can perceive Krishna in the spiritual activities very, very clearly, very, very nicely. So that is the goal of life. Purify yourself more and more, and don't fear problems. Fear might be there because of our conditioning, because of our conditioned mind. But our job, our business is to take devotee association and chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and take shelter of Guru and Shastra and elevate our consciousness. Yes. Yeah, that's why like a regular hearing program, regular association of devotees is important, because we are conditioned in a different manner, and Krishna consciousness is meant to condition us in a different manner. So we have to habituate ourselves to hear about Krishna. Right now we are habituated to worry about the problems which we are facing, because the small things also it will bother us so much, like it will jump on our mind. So we have to change our habituations, we have to change our habits. Yeah, we will yeah, we will see the acronym of the mind also, like how mind performs before spirituality and how mind performs after spirituality today. And if time permits, we might do a exercise also. So let's read the 12th verse. न त्वे न त्व एवाहं जातु नाशं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपा न चैव न भविष्याम सर्वे वयं मतः परम्. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is bringing eternality into picture. He is telling that actually before this body also you were existing, and all these Dronacharya, Bhishma Dev, they were there before this body also, and I was also there, and you were also there. So he is bringing Arjuna out of the bodily conception of life. So let's read the next verse. Next verse is very important. देहोनस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तर्प्राप्ते धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Yeah, so yeah, this is a very important and often quoted verse by all the sadhus. And yeah, so this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And if we can become a sober person, that is our long cherished goal of our entire life. So a sober person is not bewildered by the change of bodies. So at the time of death also, his consciousness is so much fixed on Krishna that he is very easily able to transition to the next body. So as we like, I think most of you know that we have discussed about this change and identity. That if you can understand change and identity, then you can understand entire Bhagavad Gita, as Gaurang Prabhu tells in the introductory sessions. So the change of bodies is the highest change, and right now Krishna is preparing us for that change. So there might be a lot of changes in our lives, and we should not identify too much. That's why we should not identify too much with those temporary things. We should try to find out something eternal, which will not change. So there are things which change and there are things which do not change. So nasate vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata ubhayor api drishtantvas tvaninos tattva darshibi. So sadhus are those who don't concentrate their consciousness on temporary, but they concentrate on the permanent. They are more worried about the eternal things. So what are the eternal things? Anybody wants to answer?
Soul.
Yes. What else?
Soul, time,
Yeah.
time, soul, and karma is not eternal. Karma is reduced by Krishna consciousness,
Yes.
depending on the devotional part we are giving him.
Yes. Thank you. So there are these 5 subjects which
And nature
Prabhupada mentioned.
and Prakriti. I'm sorry, Prakriti also. Prakriti is also eternal. But its manifestation happens over a period of time. It appears, disappears, but it is eternal. Prakriti or nature. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, there are 5 subjects which Prabhupada mentions in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, which is uh, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma, and Bhagavan. So in all of these 5, only karma is temporary, and all of other 4 are permanent. So when we understand that we are not this body, we are spirit, soul, and this body will change as we proceed on, as we continue our journey, and this body is changing actually every moment. Like how you are right now, you would be having a different body 5 years back. You might be a young person, and how you are right now, you will have a different body 5 years from now. So every moment we are actually changing our bodies. So so that the change which we undergo at the time of the death, that is like very very drastic, because the entire body changes. We are put into a new body. Right now the present body is only withering, so there are 4 stages. The body is growing, and then the body is being maintained, and then body produces some byproducts, and then body dwindles down, and then body dies. So these are the 5 stages in which body basically proceeds. But once the body dies, then we are made to put into the next body. So that is the most drastic change. But what is eternal is basically Bhagavan and Jiva. So Jiva has a eternal relationship with Krishna, of serving Krishna, because Krishna is there within our heart, and we have a loving relationship with him. And we can realize that relationship, we can awaken that relationship, but by serving Krishna. Jivere Swarupa Krishnere Nityadas. And then Krishna will reciprocate. Krishna will tell that what are your qualities, what is your swadharma, what is your varna, what is your ashrama. And those reciprocations we can validate from senior devotees. So this Prakriti, Jiva, and Bhagavan, and Kala. So these 4 things are eternal. And as we progress in our relationship with Krishna, then our consciousness evolves. So just like Darwin has given his like theory of evolution, in Krishna consciousness also there is a theory of evolution. So there is a like our consciousness evolves throughout. And if you, like, I have been practicing for 10 years, and I know that how much it has evolved, like how bad I was, how much covered I was 10 years back, and now I have a lot of clarity and lot of purified mind, sanctified mind, and still a lot to go. So like this basically this Krishna consciousness is a process of purification of mind. And as we have told that most of the problems are because of the mind. But when we practice bhakti, when we do spiritual activities like taking devotee association, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and reading scriptures, then our mind becomes purified more and more, and then we become more and more happy and contented and satisfied within ourselves. So that's how basically we come out of those insecurities, those fear, anxieties, and traumas which are caused by those changes and false identification. So if we identify with our true position, so right now we saw that Arjuna is identifying with all his false positions. But now, when he receives knowledge from Krishna, then Arjuna will understand that what is his real position, what is his real varna, what is his duty, and how to perform his duty in a Krishna conscious manner. And that's what we also have to understand by reading scriptures and hearing from devotees. Okay. So let us read the purport of this verse. Tanusha, you want to read? This is 2.39 project.
You want to present, Rajat, or should we do it on our screen?
Yeah, I'm projecting. Tanusha,
Yep, I am on it. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there, does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body, and since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there there was no cause for lamentations by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing body from old to new ones, thereby regenerating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least live in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentations. Any man who has perfect knowledge of constitution of individual soul, the super soul and nature, both material and spiritual, is a Dhira, or most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of the supreme souls being unchangeable. As confirmed in the Gita, the fragmental portion of the supreme exists in eternally Sanatan and are called Kasara. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Shara.
Shara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into the material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so. Even after liberation, the individual soul remains the soul fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the super soul, which is present in each and every individual body and is known as Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflection represents both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to the living entities and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjuna and the Supreme Soul. Uh, Rajat, can you like scroll down?
Yeah.
And the Supreme Soul is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level as it will be the apparent in the beginning of the fourth chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then the relationship of instructor and the instructed become meaningless. In both of them are deluded by the illusionary energy Maya, then there is no need of one being the instructor and the other being the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity. Arjuna holds forgetful soul deluded by the Maya.
Thank you very much, Anusha. Yeah, so there are lot of different good points in this purport. So one is basically this bhakti process makes us fearless about death. So generally people are very, very fearful about death because everybody wants to stop death, right? Everybody wants to live forever. And that is our true nature because we are not this body, we are spirit soul. And the soul is eternal. So by nature, we also want to live eternally. And actually that is possible only in the spiritual world. And that's what Krishna is telling, that even Bhishmadev and Dronacharya, these are also eternal. So they have done so many bhakti activities in their present lives. So if they get another body, actually they will rejuvenate their energy. They will actually, their bodies are very, very old. So they will, because of their good activities in this life, they will have a better body in the next life, and they can practice devotion better. So that is actually advancement. You can progress in spiritual life from the point where you are, and you can make further progress. So if you have left on 10%, then you will begin from 10% in the next life. That's what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. That Bhishma and Drona, although you will kill them, but their bodies, their energies will rejuvenate. So this is how basically spiritual conception looks. So Arjuna was in material bodily conception, and that's why he was lamenting that I will not kill my guru or my teachers. But Krishna is saying that if you kill them, they will get liberation and they will go achieve higher planets. So that is the spiritual conception. And one more lesson here is that we have to take lessons from a person who himself is not bound by the three modes of nature. He is not too much affected by Maya. So then only that person can help us. Because suppose a person has fallen into well, right? Who can pull that person out of the well? Anybody wants to answer?
Krishna, right?
Yeah, Krishna can do, but like a person, suppose who he has fallen into well, and suppose you are already in that well, like I
Oh,
am already in that well. Can I pull him from the well?
Prabhu, anybody who is not in the well, who is outside the well, can pull the person up.
Yes, yes, correct. Nice. So same applies for spiritual advancement also. So if a person is spiritually advanced himself, then he can help the person who is affected by Maya, by the three modes of nature. So that's why we have to identify that person who can help us, whose consciousness is elevated, and then we can submit to him and hear his good counsel and apply in our lives and get out of those three modes of nature. And that's what Prabhupada is saying, that that's why Krishna and Arjuna are not on the same level. Krishna is like Sachidananda Vigraha. He is beyond the three modes of nature, beyond the effect of Maya. And Arjuna is seemingly put into this spell of Maya on the battlefield. And that's why Krishna is able to help Arjuna, because Krishna is at the higher position. So the higher positive energy flows from the high pressure to low pressure, as we have read in the geography also, that the wind flows from high pressure to low pressure. So similarly, positive energy flow also flows from the source of positive energy to the receiver of positive energy, who is low on positive energy. So like this consciousness transformation also happens by the receptivity of the hearer and the qualification of the speaker. Okay, thank you. So I think we have maybe 15 minutes. So I'll just share this last point. So this is how our mind functions, as we have been discussing, that it is very important to understand our mind, because mind can be our like greatest enemy also, and mind can be our greatest friend also, depending on how we deal with our mind, whether mind is controlling us or we are controlling the mind. So that is what Krishna says in the sixth chapter also, Dhyan Yoga. So generally, like, this acronym is used by like a lot of acharyas. So mind in the conditioned stage, it magnifies the problems. Mind will say, oh, this problem is so big. Like little bit only relationship has disturbed, but it will say, oh, he has done so much wrong with you. So mind magnifies small problems also, which will not last actually even a day. So next day it will be solved. So those are magnified by a conditioned mind. And for I for imagines pleasure. So basically, generally mind thinks that if I do this, then I will get happiness. For example, in on the battlefield also, one reason which Arjuna gave for not fighting was that I will not be able to enjoy the kingdom with my relatives if I kill the relatives, if I win the battle. So Arjuna's mind is imagining pleasure. Okay, I should enjoy the kingdom with my relatives. So that is what mind does in a conditioned stage. And N stands for neglecting opportunities. So a conditioned mind will not see opportunities. So generally, a difficult situation that is transformed into an opportunity if we accept it with full heart, because every difficult situation becomes an adventure when we accept it as a gift of Krishna. So that opportunity will be lost if your mind is too much bothered by that situation. So mind can only find opportunities if it is stable, if it is in mode of goodness, if it can dive deeper into the situation and try to like come out of it by scriptural intelligence. And D is for denying reality. So mind doesn't want to basically accept the reality. So for example, there have been many like senior, I would say many celebrities. For example, Tiger Woods, right? So Tiger Woods, his story is very like he was a very famous golf player, and finally his relationships, his extramarital relationships were unveiled, and eventually basically he went into depression. He could not like accept the reality, the whatever mistakes he did, he could not rectify those, or he could not live with those mistakes, and that's why he went into depression. And like many people, we see that they commit suicide also when they go into depression. We see that even in IITs, they commit suicide only because they are not certain of their success. So they are not able to face the reality, they are not able to face the reality of uncertainty, because generally uncertainty bothers people so much, and because of that they commit suicide. Like in IITs it happens, I know, very often. But after spirituality, like how the mind will behave, like it will think about meditation. M will stand for meditation. It will try to contemplate on what is our relationship with Krishna, who is Krishna, and how I can connect with Krishna, how I can connect with devotees in a better manner. And then when we connect with Krishna and devotees, then we get the opportunity to introspect. I for introspection. When we harness spiritual energy, positive energy, then we understand the weaknesses of our consciousness, and then we try to work on those weaknesses of the consciousness. Instead of trying to directly solve the problem of the external world, we try to work within our own hearts. We try to harness more positive energy and elevate our consciousness. So that is introspection, where I am going wrong internally. What is it a negative emotion, or is it a weakness of heart, or is it lust, or is it greed, or is it anger? What is the negative emotion? So if this is negative emotion, let me drink water, let me talk to a friend who can give some light, who can give some positive energy. So all this is like activities of self awareness. So we have to be very self aware of our mind and body, then we can reside happily in this body with a happy mind and happy body. And N stands for nourishing intelligence. So when we hear from devotees, when we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it nourishes our spiritual intelligence. So in the third chapter, we'll see that intelligence comes above the mind. So when your intelligence is nourished, then actually you can control your mind. Your basically spirit soul comes above the intelligence, and intelligence comes above the mind, and mind comes above the senses. So if the intelligence is rightly directed, then it is very easy to deal with the mind. And finally, D is developing good habits, which we have already discussed in the ABCD of devotional service. A for association, B for books, reading books, C for chanting, and D for diet, having good food. because as you eat, so shall you are. Basically, जैसा खाओगे अन्न वैसा बनेगा मन. So you should take nice food, nice nutritious food, milk, grains, and offer it to Krishna and take. That will basically purify the gray cells of your mind, and it will help you to think about spiritual life and harness more positive thoughts in your mind. So this is the basically acronyms which we use for mind. And so this is a question for all of you that just we have started the second chapter, 13th verse we are on. So how can you relate these acronyms to life of Arjuna, and what basically Krishna is trying to, how Krishna is changing his consciousness to bring Arjuna on the second acronym? Yeah, maybe you can take 5 minutes. This is not a group discussion because I did not plan for it, but you can just answer like this after thinking for 2 minutes. Did everybody get the question, or should I repeat?
We got the question.
You got the question, huh? Okay. Anybody who did not get the question?
Yeah, repeat it, please.
Yeah, so how you can relate the situations which Arjuna is facing to this acronym? Basically, what challenges Arjuna is facing, you can relate to the first acronym, and how Krishna is trying to elevate Arjuna and bring him to the second acronym. Yeah, maybe you can take 1 minute, and it can be a very, very simple one sentence answer also.